Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, I will be showing you how I recreated the Cha-Cha top from the brand ORSEUND Iris. I love how pretty and dainty this top is, but if you're like me and you don't have $184 to spend on a crop top, then keep on watching. So let's take a look at the original. It ties in the front and has these thin, dainty spaghetti straps that form a bow on the shoulders. And it also has these gathered effects only on the front panels. This top is perfect for the springtime. It goes with anything depending on what fabric you use, but since it's not available in red, which is my favorite color, I decided to use a red polka dotted fabric to make it even more my style. Here's the final look at the top before we move on to making the patterns. I drafted the two patterns with the darts in them by using the painter's tape method, which is me taping painter's tape where I want the top to be and tracing out my desired shape with a Sharpie. Originally, I was going to do a two-piece lining for the pattern, but I ended up just taking the height on the side, the height down the middle point of the bust, and the added width of these two pattern pieces, plus extra to create that point for us to be able to tie the front of the top together. And once we have created our lining pattern, I traced this pattern piece onto fresh pattern paper to be able to slash and spread another version to create the outer shell piece. So I slashed and spread the second version of our lining piece to almost double the length of the original side height. And this is to allow us to be able to gather the fabric to create the detail on the original top. Now for the back, it is half the length of our original bust measurement, and it is the same side length of our lining piece. And here were my choices for fabric. I have a separate lining and a separate fabric for the outer shell and straps. And all the pieces cut out. And our 4 1-inch wide straps, the desired length, long enough to be able to tie a bow on the shoulders like the original top. I started off by pinning the front lining pieces to the back before going on to sew them down with a straight stitch. And a tip for sewing with satin or slippery fabric is to use a walking foot or a knit foot. In this case, I am using a knit foot because I still don't own the walking foot. Once that's done, I moved on to sewing 2 basting stitches on the sides of the front shell pieces to be able to create the gathers. Next, I moved on to separating my bobbin threads and holding onto the bobbin threads and gently pulling down the fabric of the shell pieces until they were the same height as the lining pieces. And I know it seems very tempting to only do 1 basting stitch on the sides of the shell pieces, but having 2 bobbin threads instead of 1 gives you more control. And I did speed this up, but I pulled very gently because the basting stitch being on the wide stitch length, it is very easy to pull too hard and completely pull your bobbin threads out. So take your time and only pull until the fabric is the same height as the lining pieces. And here are the gathers finished, and I'm taking my front pieces and pinning them down to my back shell piece before sewing them down with a straight stitch. On to making our straps. We are pinning the side of all 4 of our straps before sewing them down with a straight stitch. Before flipping them right side out with our loop turner. As you can see, I have been making a lot of spaghetti straps lately since I finally figured out how to properly use one. And once they are flipped right side out, we are pinning them to either our lining fabric and sewing them down first, or sandwiching them here in between both our lining and shell piece and sewing all around with a straight stitch. But remembering to leave a gap so that we can flip the top right side out later on. And once completed, I started by flipping the top right side out, and I clipped the front points of our top to get a nice, clean, sharp point in the front. Next, I moved on pinning to be able to top stitch around the entire length of the top and also closing the hole that we left in the process. And once the top stitching is complete, the top is finished. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe so you can join me in my next video. If you've recreated this top or anything else I've made on my channel, please hashtag me OnlybyOcé so I can see your lovely creations. And to see sneak peek videos, more content from me, and other photos that aren't included in the tutorials, feel free to follow me on Instagram. As always, have a great day. Bye!